Yes, sir. It's your boy Eric Crocker. This is episode 3 of the Eric Crocker Show. Former NFL and AFL defensive back. We're getting into just that on this show. Cornerbacks, my favorite position to watch, my favorite position to evaluate, my favorite position to talk about, my favorite position to defend. All right, we're going to get into all of that. As it pertains to the 49ers, we got Eli Ricks, Rejzohn Wright, Mekhi Blackmon, excuse me. All three cornerbacks coming out eligible for the draft. Who's the best fit for the San Francisco 49ers? And also, does NFL draft value matter? All right, drafting running backs and all that. We're going to get into all that and more. But first, make sure if you haven't already, download Underdog Fantasy. Go to underdogfantasy.com and use the promo code Rocky. This show is powered, sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff throughout the football season. Right now, you got the NBA playoffs. Man, go out there and pick some higher, lowers. Is Steph Curry going to score more or less than 30 points? All right, I'm taking the over on that. I know I troll like Warrior fans a lot, but trust me, I'm aware of what Steph Curry is, and it goes on now. For him. He's about to start going crazy. Here we go, man. We're jumping straight into it. Again, we're going to talk a lot about evaluations, and I had a discussion with my guy Mike from the Niners. It was a very fun debate. He's really good. He's really good at debating. He understands how to flip turn all kinds of ways. So, but what's up with the audio, y'all? What's up with the audio? Let's see. Hold on, hold on. Yo, 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 yo. It's on Mixcast. So the audio messed up. Y'all let me know. I can hear it somewhere. Oh, I know where I can hear it. Right here. There we go. All right. How am I now? Am I good? How am I now? Everybody hear me cool? I'm good, good, good. We good? All right. I almost feel like I should redo the intro, but we're not gonna redo the intro, man. We're gonna keep it rocking. I'll just cut this out when we put it on the audio. All right. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the discussion I had with my guy Mike, nothing but Niners, and we're talking about draft value. So I'm taking a shower, and I get a text message from Mike, and Mike says, if you just randomly found out that the 49ers traded up into the bottom of the second round, so we're talking about a late second round pick, what position do you think the 49ers need? What position do you think? Dang, if I messed up that whole intro, then I think I got to redo it. I got to redo it. All right, hold on, guys, real quick. We're going to redo that. We're going to redo that. All right, here we go. And 3, 2. This is the fun part about going live, doing live shows. All right. I had the dang YouTube up in the background, so that's why you guys heard that. All right, here we go. What's good? It's your boy Eric Crocker, and of course, this is the Eric Crocker Show, episode 3. And we're getting after it today. We're talking all things cornerbacks. Eli Ricks from Alabama, Rejzohn Wright from Oregon State, Mekhi Beckman, from USC, and who is the best fit for the 49ers out of those three guys? We definitely want to talk about a debate I had with my guy Mike Andrews from Nothing But Niners, and the question is about draft value. How much does it matter? And drafting running backs, do you keep swinging on them because you see what Christian McCaffrey did? We're going to get into all that and more right now. All right. So let's get after it, man. Does draft value matter? And I want to hear from y'all, and I want to see you guys in the chat and hear you guys talk about it. All right. For me, maybe I value the draft value too much, right? And what I mean by that is where players go. So the reason why this came up, Mike texted me. I think he was doing a live show, and he's asking about if the 49ers, if you randomly, we woke up, well, let's say right now, a bomb was dropped, a Shefty bomb, boom. The San Francisco 49ers trade up into the bottom of the second round. So we're talking about a late second round pick. What would you want the 49ers to draft, or what do you think their biggest need is, right? And for me, I look at value. So I said receiver. He's like, receiver? Like that, dude, wow, and he's getting a lot of different answers. And my reason for saying receiver, and I kind of explained it to him, I'm all about value. And although we're going to talk about some like day 2/day 3 cornerbacks today, it's really hard to hit on certain positions outside of the first round. All right. And those positions are uh, offensive tackle. You don't find a lot of really good, right? Like when we're talking about, right, because when you think of team needs for the 49ers, I'm pretty sure we all would say right tackle, edge rusher, cornerback. We kind of go through those positions. And I think each of those positions are probably the hardest to hit on outside of the first round, right? To get like legit starters where you're attacking this guy, this position, because we know, oh, he's going to play. We really want him to come in and play right now. It's difficult with those positions as opposed to let's say offensive guard, right? You draft a guard in the second, third round, you feel confident that that guard can start. You draft a middle linebacker in the second, third round, you feel confident that that middle linebacker can start. You draft a running back in the second, third rounds, typically outside of 49ers bad luck as of late, and we'll get into that. But typically, if you feel like those guys should be able to come in and play, like right now, and the other guys, right, the offensive tackles, the cornerbacks, the edge rushers, think about all the best edge rushers, all the best cornerbacks, all the best quarterbacks, right? Where are these guys being taken? Tackles, edge, quarterbacks, cornerbacks. Where are those guys going? Like the top guys. They typically are first rounders. Typically. Now you do have your outliers, but overall, like it's a talent thing with those guys. And your most talented tackles are taken in the top 15 picks. Your most talented edge rushers are taken in the top 10. Like they just are. Who the best edge rushers in the NFL right now? You got Myles Garrett. Well, he was what, number 1 overall pick. You got Nick Bosa. Well, he was number 2 overall pick. You could throw in for sure TJ Watt. Now, he was later, but still first round pick. Mason Crosby is the exception. And I mean, how many times have we seen a Mason Crosby, right? A guy just drafted in what, 4th round edge rusher and be what he is. I mean, it's just so rare. So again, anything can happen. But if it's me, I said receiver when Mike Andrews and the question came up. And why did I say receiver? I feel like receiver out of all the positions, and it's not necessarily a need for the 49ers, but out of all the positions, if I draft a receiver in the 2nd round, I mean, those guys, you're hitting, you're striking gold on a lot of those guys, whether it's Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin, who's drafted in the 3rd round, Devontae Adams. I mean, the list goes on and on. Receivers, you could draft those guys and you hit. T. Higgins, Michael Pittman's really good. He's a 1,000-yard receiver. So, like, for me, it's like, well, if I trade up into the 2nd round, like, give me a receiver. And it's not necessarily a need for the 49ers. I think they're solid with what they have right now, right? You got Brandon Ayuk, you got Deebo Samuel, you got Juwan Jennings, you got Ray McLeod. Like, you're good there. But shoot, can I be a little bit better? Can I be a little bit better? I think so. I think so. So, yeah, the tough part about that, and we got our guy Nees right here says, I don't know. Not as weird. Kyle said Ayuk wouldn't have even played rookie year if not for injury. And he did. He did say that. I don't even think it's 49ers weird. I think Kyle is very the team is in a very interesting spot, and maybe that's what it is, right? Like, and Mike said this when we were recording the other night. This is not your 2017 San Francisco 49ers, where you have guys like Kendrick Bourne and Trent Taylor and guys just kind of walking in and like you're just gonna get an opportunity to play. That's not the case now. Like you have to be ready on this team, and if you're not, he's just not gonna really play you. So we have seen guys coming in play like Deebo wasn't quite a starter, but you're gonna play. You're gonna play Deebo. Right. So we have seen the Debos, and then you got to remember too that year they went and traded for Emmanuel Sanders in the middle of the year. They did have Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne had a good year. That was 2019. But I think ultimately, out of all the positions, which again, Kyle is the hardest on that position, so that makes it tough. But typically, like you could just hit on receivers. All right. The other positions is just a little bit harder. So am I putting too much on the value of draft picks? Because that's what in my head, just the value. The value for a running back isn't great. So you got to be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're a dog. Especially when you look at the 49ers and who they have drafted or who they have gotten undrafted, or the guys that were late round picks, and the contributions that they have gotten out of those guys. I mean, come on. It's really weird when I see them draft, you know, Trey Sermon in the third round, Ty Davis Price in the third round. Like, why are you doing that? Like, the value's not there. Based on what you have and the guys that you have done really well with. I mean, who the 49ers leading rushers? Probably like, you know, Matt Breida, undrafted. Jeff Wilson, undrafted. Elijah Mitchell, 6th-round pick. I mean, then obviously you get Christian McCaffrey. But a lot of times, who was everybody's favorite, the dark horse guy last year heading into the year? Jordan Mason, undrafted, right? So it's like, why are you taking these guys, the Ty Davis Price and the Trey Sermon? Like, why are you doing that? That's bad value. Now, if in the third round there happens to be a Jahmyr Gibbs, I get it. And there's some other ones too. The kid out of Tulane, Tajay Spears, I get it. Super dynamic, makes a lot of sense. But man, just the value of the running back, one, is just diminished around the league because you can get so much protection out of guys that are just undrafted. And I think more so than any other position. Like, go around the NFL and just gather all the most productive undrafted players, and it's probably running backs. Because it's just kind of a plug and play type thing. So Kyle is really weird when it comes to playing younger guys. I don't expect that to change at all. I don't think it's all because of just this team is ready to win. I think he just is a no-nonsense guy, and he wants to know exactly what he's getting out of a guy, and he understands what he's getting out of more of a veteran. And if a rookie comes in and has his lumps, he's probably going to sit on the bench. If a rookie comes in and he just kind of catches on quicker, even if he's not as talented as the other guy, he's going to play. He's going to play. I got GTC in the chat, and he said, did you already touch on safeties yet? Locked On 49ers, myself, Brian Peacock, we record 5 days a week. We have talked about some safeties. The way that we're doing it is guys that are being mocked to the 49ers. So we're looking at, just the big mocks that are out there, NFL.com, ESPN.com, Todd McShay, all these guys, Draft Network, anybody that's doing like 3-round mocks, and they're mocking players to the 49ers, we're doing it a little different. We haven't really done our personal mocks. We go off of their mocks, and then we watch the guys that they mock to the 49ers, and then we give our evaluation on that prospect. And it's been kind of fun because it makes it to where we don't just go off of, okay, well, I know who this guy is, so yeah, I want to watch this guy, right? And then it's, how it ends up being in 49er land. It's the same names that keep getting circulated all, continuously. Oh man, and everybody, then you guys know all about like this guy because everybody talks about, oh yeah, this guy to the 49ers. So we've been doing it a little different. I like the way that we've done it. It's a little bit more spontaneous. So we have touched on some safeties. We touched on, as of late, the kid out of Ohio State, Hickman. We've been watching so many guys. It's hard to remember everybody's name, but the kid out of Ohio State, number 14, I believe he is, Ronnie Hickman, I think his name is. We watched the kid out of Cal, number 32. We watched another safety out of Florida State. So we have been watching some guys. And we've talked about them. So you guys got to check out Locked On 49ers. All right. Here we go. The reason why y'all are here, I hope. All right. And not just to see my sucker-free San Francisco 49ers long sleeve tee. But let's talk cornerbacks. And I said that it's really hard to hit on corners outside of the first round. And it is, especially once you get outside the second round. Second round, you can still find some guys. After that, it starts to get a little weird, especially, and I noticed it while watching the film, they're just missing something. First round, you find guys that are just extremely well-rounded, super talented, run fast, change of direction good, quick feet, scheme versatile. Your first round, you just find those guys. And then outside of the first round, especially second round, outside of the second round, it starts to be more about fit. They're missing something. And it's like, how's it going to translate to the NFL? Might be cool, might not be, right? So we're going to talk about some of those guys right now. So let's start with the one that I watched first, and that was Rejzohn Wright, cornerback out of Oregon State. Now, let me go to my handy-dandy notes on Rejzohn Wright, a bigger corner, all right? So this is a guy who is 6'2", 193 pounds, 32 and a half length arms, which is extremely long, but he did not test, and I think I know Why? All right. A lot of times when guys don't test, I think they're advised not to test by their agents. Like, just don't put it on paper. All right. Make people guess. If they have questions about your speed, just let them keep questioning it. But eventually they'll draft you. All right. And I think that's what happened because I did see at times a lot of kind of chasing or getting in this kind of panic mode when guys get behind him. And it happened a few times in a couple of different games. And Rejzohn Wright, for those of you who may or may not remember, he was on what's the show Last Chance U. He went to Laney Junior College. He's from out of East Palo Alto. Matter of fact, we got a couple East Palo Alto guys here. Mekhi Blackmon. When we talk about him, he's from East Palo Alto as well. But watching Rejzohn Wright, long corner with a good understanding of matching routes vertically. So when you see him playing off, and they played a lot of off, as a in comparison to the other two corners we'll talk about, Blackmon and Eli Ricks, Blackmon, a lot of press, a lot of man. I can clearly see how their game identify or translates to the NFL. Rejzohn Wright, I had to really kind of like look. There wasn't a whole lot of, there wasn't as much press reps. A lot of off. It looked like a lot of cover four. Cover four kind of turns into man. It's kind of a match, then you kind of match things vertically. And the tough thing for cover four, especially for a guy who's 6'2", 193 pounds, the longer you are, that turn and run is just a little tougher. It's just a little tougher. I remember initially watching him, I'm like, man, this guy kind of reminds me of somebody. Man, who's he remind me of? And it was a name that I think a lot of 49er fans you'll remember, Killer Witherspoon. Now, Witherspoon, in my opinion, was just more athletic. And I think the feet similar. And Rejzohn Wright, I think he has good feet. But it was clear, like, Witherspoon was just more athletic. And I know a lot of people like, Witherspoon. The reason why Witherspoon isn't maybe reaching what his full potential could be at the NFL level, it's more like a mental thing as opposed to like a physical thing. He's a legit 6'3", 200-pound corner with terrific feet, legit speed, ran 4.45, like at the combine, like that's laser. Like Witherspoon was a really talented guy, but up here you got to have it here too. So it's not just the things that you could do on the field. So the mental toughness aspect of it, whatever it was, there was something that they were kind of playing with his emotions, whatever, how he was handling it, I don't know, but that can be kind of, it can kind of carry over to the field and maybe your confidence go up and down a little bit. Even though he's a very confident person, but the NFL has a way of kind of taking your confidence away from you a little bit. All right. So long corner, Rejzohn Wright with a good understanding of matching routes vertically, plays field and boundary. So he's not a guy that, a lot of times, especially you see like these taller, longer, physical guys that want to play physical at the line of scrimmage, they'll play boundary a lot of times. Well, he played field and boundary. So clearly they trust him to like have good eyes in the backfield, understand concepts, be able to match and run with those things, as well as be that physical presence into the boundary. I think he's long, or he plays long if he's not anticipating. All right. What do I mean by that? A lot of these guys that are taller like that, just playing honest and utilizing just your feet to put you in position to make a play is a little bit harder, as opposed to like the shorter guys, right? Like the Asante Samuels of the world. Asante Samuel could just be like, you know what? I'm not even going to try to guess what route he's running. I'm just going to react with my feet. And the feet just change your direction, feet quick, and in and out of your breaks, and boom, you can react. Taller guys, it just takes longer to do those things. And you can see that with Rejzohn Wright's skills. I put a question here: can he turn and run? And the more I watch it, the next question: does he have long speed? Saw him chase mode a couple times in the game. There was a run play broken off by, I want to say it was USC, and he just was not going to catch up. He just wasn't catching up at all. It wasn't closing that gap. A lot of times with these corners, and I was watching, I think, LSU, and I'm watching LSU, and this running back streaks and breaks off a long run. And you just see the corner just closing the gap, closing the gap, closing the gap, closing the gap, and then eventually makes a tackle downfield, but he makes a tackle. Rejzohn Wright, when that back went by him, it was over. It was over. So I think when you start to kind of question the speed, unless he's just like, I'm not really going to try to tackle him. Maybe that's the case on that play. But there were other times too where you just see a guy get behind him and it's like, just that turn and run. All right, so I definitely would love to see him really challenge himself from a movement skill standpoint. You know, a good person for Rejzohn Wright to work with is Footwork King. Footwork King, he's not like when it comes to like just DB technique, he's not like the most like, okay, you're gonna be super technical. But when it comes to challenging you with your feet, your change of direction, and just how your body can react to things, I don't think there's anybody better. And I think that's who Rejzohn Wright needs to work with. Like, go work with Footwork King, who's gonna really challenge your movement skills and just how your body reacts. And I think that'd be really good for him. Can he handle quicks? And that's the part, I just have questions because of how long he is. And again, typically when you are 6'2", 6'3", you're this long corner. It is hard to guard this smaller receivers. Me being a 6'1", listed at 6'2", but 6'1" cornerback, those smaller guys, it's just tougher. It's just tougher. So when you do see guys that react extremely well and cover the smaller guys, I remember watching J.C. Horn, and he was guarding Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss, and he was guarding Elijah Moore as if Elijah Moore was, a 6'3" guy. Like, that's what you want to see, right? But again, that's why you see J.C. Horn going to top 10, first corner off the board, and Rejzohn Wright, I don't think he'll be in that round. So we're talking about him right now because I think he'll be more of a later pick. And there's things that he has to work on. You see the potential, you see the ability, you see the length, but it has to all come together consistently. And again, there's going to be those questions, but there's always questions about guys that aren't drafted in the first couple rounds. I mean, look at Richard Sherman. So maybe it's that, right? Maybe it's like Tariq Woolen. Tariq Woolen, obviously, he physical freak, but he was a really long guy, legit 6'4". It's hard to change the direction and things like that. So you go to a scheme where they're like, hey, I know exactly how to utilize you. Pete Carroll's like, look, yeah, bring that 6'4" dude over here. I know exactly how to use him. And then he uses him, and he has an amazing rookie year. So that's how you get a guy in the, 4th, 5th round that put him in position to win. And I think with Rejzohn Wright, he's going to have to go to a team. I would like to see him do a little bit more press. I mean, Oregon State, they played a lot of quarters. And as just from a schematic standpoint, and one of the things I put was who fits most with the 49ers. I think he did more of the stuff that fits with the 49ers. I just don't think he has as much ability as the next two guys. But I think he is he's going to get drafted for sure. He's going to get drafted. So let's talk about the next guy, man. All right. Again, we just talked about Rejzohn Wright, cornerback out of Oregon State. Didn't run his 40 time. And I think I know why. But all right, let's talk about the next guy. Mekhi Blackmon, cornerback out of USC. And again, I think both him and Rejzohn Wright, East Paul, are two boys. All right, but Mekhi Blackmon. Let's look at something aggressive at the top of the route. A little grabby, essentially means aggressive. Very aggressive. Double moves might get him. From off, he can play a little soft and safe. Draws a lot of flags. So watching him, it was interesting because he was just overly aggressive. Now he's not as big. He's listed at 5'11". He's 180 pounds. So part of that might just be him overcompensating for not being the biggest of guys. I think he has really good feet. I think he could trust his feet more. I think he could play with his feet more and not have to be as grabby as he was in the few games that I watched. But overall, I would rather tell a guy to tone down on the aggressiveness as opposed to being like, hey man, I need you to be more aggressive. All right. I can coach you to say, hey, let's come back a little bit, just play, use your feet more. Put the boxing gloves on so he can't grab. Like, do those things. But again, it was fun watching him because of how aggressive he was. And I watched him get an interception. It was great, man. He played what I call chest to chest. This was against Stanford, I believe. And he's chest to chest in the end zone, goes through, looks through the receiver, plays the ball at his highest point, knocks it away, knocks it in the air, then goes and picks it off and takes it about 35 yards or so down the sideline. I mean, it was a great play. And he made that play because of how aggressive he plays. So it's like you don't want him to turn it down too much. And it kind of reminds me of like Talanoa Hufanga, right? Where Hufanga, there's times where his aggressiveness with his eyes might get him a little bit. But he makes as much plays as he does because he's so aggressive, right? So it's kind of this what they call it, catch 22. It's kind of this, you got to kind of give and take a little bit where I want you to be aggressive because that's what makes you desirable. But we have to try to be as safe as possible with it. And with Blackman, it wasn't the same as Hufanga, who was, oh man, he's so aggressive, and then oh man, it's a touchdown. But with Blackman, it was just it's a pass interference. It's a pass interference. It's a holding. It's a pass interference. Like, and you saw that consistently. And I think a lot of people would have a real hard time with that. Me, I like the aggressiveness. I like how he plays violent through the hands, especially for a guy who's not big. Maybe he is more of a nickel at the NFL level. There could be that, and seeing how he could fit with the 49ers there. But definitely he profiles as an outside guy, especially with how aggressive he is. And then he's pretty 4.47, 40-yard dash, had a good broad jump, had a good vertical jump. All right. So the athleticism's there. The ability is there. It's just a little grabby at the top of routes. And that's the one thing. That's probably the one complaint I had. There were a couple of other times where I felt like maybe he could have been a little bit stronger at the top. Now again, that goes okay. There's that thin line between being too aggressive and drawing the flag, but then not enough aggressive, and then the guy just kind of bullying you at the top of the route, and you're just end up 4 yards away on a slant route. But then he comes right back, and then he has a great rep where he stays square, gets hands on, watch the guy down line of scrimmage. So it was a fun watch. I would say right now between him and Rejzohn Wright, who do I like more? I would go with Mekhi Blackmon. I think that's the guy that, to me, I like more. Now, didn't see a whole lot of off coverage from him. Was a guy that I thought played a lot more press man. But again, I feel like, me personally, I can teach you zone. I can teach you to understand where your eyes should be in zone. Pure man coverage skills and just having the ability to run vertically with guys, it's hard to teach that. So again, go back to Rejzohn Wright. I think long speed might be an issue. It just might. Guarding quicker guys just might be an issue. And that's why you take him more late day 2, sometime day 3, maybe. Like his brother. His brother got drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, and he was a 4th round pick. Now his brother's taller, 6'4", Rejzohn Wright, 6'2". But longer guys, and it's kind of like, okay, we'll see. We'll see, right? Blackmon, I feel like, should go a little earlier. Now, the thing that might hold Blackmon back a little bit is he's just not as big. I said 5'11", 180. He's actually 5'11", 178. And I don't know if 5'11" is like, because sometimes when you look at the combine stuff, they round up. So it could be 5'10" and 3/4, and they just round up to 5'11". So that could be the case as well. We got LT Simple Jack in here. What's up, man? Shout out to my guy Rob Louder. Hope everything's good with my guy. All right. Yeah. Honestly, 40 time is overrated, I believe, in film and game speed. So me too, right? Now, the worrisome part about the 40 time GTC reels, there we go. The worrisome part about the 40 time is when they just elect to not run it. Right. So again, I'm watching the film. I ain't know about his 40 time yet, that he didn't run it. I'm watching it, and I just have the questions about long speed, being able to, do those things. He liked to play, and I forgot this detail of Rejzohn Wright. He really likes to play with his eyes in the backfield a lot. I think at the NFL level, that can get you a little bit more than it will in college, especially with those super wide hashes. So in college, if you're to the field and you want to play with your eyes, there's just more room for error. In the field, the hashes aren't as wide, so the ball jumps on you a lot quicker, and you can't play as much with your eyes in the backfield. But there was a play where eyes in the backfield, runs with a vertical route. I thought he intercepted the ball at first, and then somehow it ended up being a touchdown. But I don't know, it was really weird. He jumped up, and it was like he came down with it, but then somehow the receiver came down with it. I don't know. It was hella weird. But he definitely ran vertically with the guy pretty well. Had his eyes in the backfield the whole time, but had a good feel for where the receiver was. The 3 cone and high jump is what I look at the combine. Okay, okay. Three cone. I think I definitely like to see the quicks. I definitely like to see that. So three cone definitely matters. Vertical jump, it can. I think vertical. I think all of it. Well, not all of it, but between the vertical jump, the 40, the broad jump, it just lets me know how explosive of an athlete you are. You see a guy just hit on all three of those, just like this is an explosive guy. And I wish I was that. I wish I was explosive. Maybe we would have played a little bit longer in the league. Jerry Rice was the epitome of field speed, being superior to his 40. Yeah, now here's the thing sometimes with the 40 as well. All right. Which I don't even know if it's an urban legend that he ran it slow, or maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. Because I know it's kind of like out there that he ran a 4.71, but I haven't seen anything that's like concrete, official. But the 40, and especially if you're coming from Mississippi Valley State, and sometimes like when I've driven from, I live in Arkansas, southeast Arkansas. I'm in the dirty South, and I've driven to Atlanta a couple times. And I was like, was it Atlanta when I drove? No, Mobile, Alabama. I think when I drive to Mobile, Alabama, I drive right by Mississippi Valley State. And it's like they probably didn't have much resources. So the one thing about Jerry Rice that's very interesting with his 40-yard dash, he might not know how to run it. There's a chance just Jerry Rice just didn't know how to run his 40-yard dash. And I know that sounds crazy. It's not as simple unless you're just somebody that just flat out flies. And there's some people that are just born to run really fast. A lot of guys, you have to really work and train at it. It's very technical. I mean, I remember them saying, put my hand in my hip, because when you put your arm up when you're about to run, as soon as that arm moves, they start the clock. And you'll see some guys too where the arm moves and then they take a step with their front step. It's kind of like this false step, and the clock starts. And like that can, now it's like, well, the time is going now, and you done wasted already a few tenths of a second. Like that's a drastic difference. So like working on those things, working on your get off, your you see people pay attention to like the 10-yard split, really working to get out in those first 10 yards, but understanding how to. A lot of guys I've worked with on their 40-yard dash, they start and they damn near pick their foot up and put it back down at the line. When I need you to get out, that should be a whole another yard ahead. So then the next step will follow, right? So we work on having like really big arms. So there's so much that goes into the 40-yard dash. Now I didn't even know the first time I really ran it for an NFL team, but I learned it, and all of a sudden, boom, my time drastically dropped just by learning those things. So Jerry Rice, we talk about his speed a whole lot. Everybody kind of dives into, well, Jerry Rice wasn't that fast. He might just really didn't know how to run a 40. He just might be a person that I'm not going to wake up and run a 4.4. I'm not that type of guy. I'm probably more of a 4.53 guy. And I just didn't know how to run the 40, so I ran a 4.7. That could very well be the case with him. Because we did see him on film, like you're not catching him from behind. You're not catching him from behind. GTC Reels, again, he says, a perfect example of a player that was fast but had really bad side quicks was Vernon Davis. His cutting ability was pretty bad early in his career, but man, he really rounded into a good tight end. He did. Well, super body catcher, though. Super body catcher. All right, let's get into the last cornerback I have, and that is Eli Ricks, cornerback out of Alabama. And I will say, out of the guys I watched, right, because sometimes a guy just kind of like pops, I guess you could say. I think Ricks popped more than the other guys. It was just very clear. Now, 40-yard dash, he ran a 4.6. So that's not a good 40 time. I think 3 cone, 7.44. Like, that's terrible. His testing probably is, Eli Ricks' testing was probably as bad as it gets. All right, his testing, it's as bad as it gets, which makes it good for the 49ers. Just take him, right? Like, this is a guy who's a 5-star cornerback, went to LSU, did very well at LSU, transferred to Alabama, had some weird things going on off the field, on the field. I don't know. It was really weird. But, okay, well, is he going to be there in the 5th round? And I put, like, 3rd-round options or day 2 options, whatever I said. But can he be there in the 5th round? Take him in the 5th round. I don't care that he ran a 4.6. Because I tell you this, when I watched the film, good feet, accelerates out of his breaks, physical and aggressive at the line of scrimmage, plays with a ton of confidence. I mean, like the film just popped as somebody that can play. I don't know what was going on with him at Alabama. I don't know what was going on with him at with Nick Saban. But when he did get on the field, and he's like, I mean, he was turned up. He does not play like somebody that runs a 4.6. What does that mean? All right. Yeah, a lot of times I like to kind of resort to myself as a resource for y'all. It was really hard for me to run a 4.55 hand time. Hard. I just wasn't fast. I could run, but I wasn't fast. All right. I knew that I was not fast. So when I was guarding guys, like I could be aggressive with certain type of receivers, but when I knew a dude got heat, it's like, okay, a lot of my technique goes out the window. And I'm just in like, hey, bro, you just got to survive this rep. You just got to survive this rep. Well, that's because I know I'm not the fastest of guys. So I got to be calculated with how I cover guys. I didn't see that with Ricks. So Ricks goes to the combine and he runs a 4.6. Man, I mean, he don't play like somebody that runs a 4.6. He played with somebody from what I've seen so far. Now, I cut on a few games, excuse me, all 22. So I get to see him even away from the ball. And it was someone that was just very aggressive and did not look like, yeah, man, I run a 4.6. Like he probably in his head thinks I'm a 4.4. Maybe he just didn't know how to run a 40. Nah, I can't even give him the benefit of the doubt because when you see the rest of his testing numbers, I mean, 4.6 40, not great for a cornerback. That's just not good for a corner. 35-inch vertical leap. That's very, 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 very pedestrian average. Maybe it's probably is it 35-inch vert for a corner is below average. It's 3 cones, 7.44. That's one of the worst 3 cones I've ever seen for a cornerback. Like it's just all of it. It's just none of it's good. None of it's good. And the NFL is going to see that. They're going to plug his numbers in, and they're going to be like, all right, this stuff is terrible. We'll take them in the fit. We'll take them late fit. We'll take them 6, right? Like a team like the 49ers, and I don't have the 49ers picks in front of me, but if I'm the 49ers, I'm looking and I'm like, hey, we got 3 picks in the 5th round. We can take him with one of those 5th picks. And I would really like that calculated pick. Now, I've done this before with a guy named Riley Ridley. So I know we all know Calvin Ridley. All right, Calvin Ridley. But Riley Ridley, I really liked Riley Ridley. I remember that. And then he tested. Vertical jump was 31 inches, 40 inch. I mean, 40 inch. Vertical jump was 31 inches or something like that. 40 wasn't great. Like, it's just testing was just bad. Now, his brother's testing was bad too, and his brother's good in the field. But Riley Ridley's testing was just terrible. When I watched the film, I'm like, man, like, he looks good on the film. He looks fluid. He's, the way he's running routes. And we don't know where the fuck Riley really is right now. Like, where is Riley really? Right? And I'm wondering if, damn, how much of his testing really like made a difference? How much of it really mattered? Because where the hell is he? I mean, no, really, where is he? Hold on, we gotta look that up. Where the hell is Riley really? He was with the Bears, and I feel like they had signed him back. Hold on, Riley Ridley. All right, let's just try to. Minnesota Vikings. Hold on. All right, we got his wiki. We're pulling his Wikipedia up. Do we have it? No, that's Calvin Ridley. Okay, yeah, no, here's Riley Ridley. All right, here we go. Riley Ridley is, I don't think he's on the NFL team. He was with the Chicago Bears 2019, 2020, and I don't think he's been in the league since. So it might be over for Riley Ridley. 2019, 2020, that's it. Was it because of lack of like the bad? Like, okay, look, you don't gotta be amazing everywhere, but like be good somewhere with your testing. He was bad everywhere with his testing. And I wonder how much of that had to do with the unsuccessful. Again, it's successful to make it to the league, but unsuccessful in the sense of the expectations I have for him, right? Like I was like, hey man, Riley, really, I think he's gonna be good. I had him as a top 5 receiver in that class. I had him number 5 in that class. So I had DK Metcalf, Debo Samuel, AJ Brown. Hakeem Butler, and then Riley Ridley, and Riley Ridley, and then Hakeem Butler. Dudes ain't in the league no more. So I hit on the first three though, and a lot of other people had like Hollywood Brown over some of those guys, Paris Campbell, N'Keal Harry, and I ain't like N'Keal Harry. But I was really high on DK, Debo, and AJ Brown. Like I was really high on those three guys for sure. All right, but this is going to be an interesting one because again, when I watched the film of Eli Ricks, I liked him the most. I would say Eli Ricks, Mekhi Blackmon, and then Rejzohn Wright. And I think there's some good with all three of those guys. I think there's things that they all have to offer. I would say that I just saw the most in the sense of, and I don't know what Wilks is going to do. I haven't went back and just watched a bunch of Carolina Panthers defense and what he like to do. If they still do something similar to what the 49ers have been doing, they've run a lot of quarters. And I think Rejzohn Wright ran the most quarters. That's what it looked like. I thought Alabama and USC, a lot more press man. That's what it looked like. That's what it felt like in the games I was watching. But again, if I had to go in order with the guys that I just liked, it was Eli Ricks, Blackmon, and then Wright. Now, if the testing really matters with Eli Ricks, if the testing really matters, then I gotta put Blackmon over him, and I'll go Blackmon, Ricks, and I gotta weigh that in, right? I gotta learn from some past screw ups. So that's what we're gonna do. Blackmon, Ricks, right? Blackmon just has to learn, just play with your feet a little bit more so you're not as grabby at the top. I like the aggressiveness. I don't want to take it all the way away from you. But we got to hone in a little bit because I was watching the game and I mean, he got flagged like 3 times in 2 drives, it felt like. All right, Joe, we're going to get to, you know what? Here we go. We all chilling. We vibing on this Friday night right now. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you want to come on live, feel free to come on live. Let's go. If not, it's cool. Put your questions in the chat. And we'll answer that. We'll vibe for another, 10 minutes or so. Got to talk about some prospects. That was fun. All right. Have you had a chance to look at starting Thomas? I have not. Don't know who he is. But I'll tell you this. This is the latest that I've gotten into like draft prep stuff. And the crazy thing is, I've gone, Peacock and I are diving into guys that are being mocked to the 49ers. So those are the guys that I know, those are the guys, I'm watching a lot of those guys, not as much the other guys. Not as much to the other guys. Now, I haven't even watched like the top guys. Everyone loves the kid out of Illinois, cornerback number 31. Haven't watched him. There's some legit corners too in this class. Top 5 guys, haven't watched them. Now, during the season, I watch a lot of college football, so I probably watched them like live. But in the sense of like evaluating them and being able to kind of really give y'all a fair and legit analysis, like I did with these 3 guys, I couldn't do that with the top 5 guys. Some of it would be me winging it, and I don't want to be a winger. I don't want to be a winger. All right, here we go. Coming on, we got my boy Chunder Boy coming on. Let's go.
How's it going, Croc?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Trying to figure out this little corner over here so I can set some things up. So
let's go. Well, I'm learning
maybe start doing something on my own here soon.
My lighting sucks, but it's all about the lighting. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Now I have to invest in the lighting. I invest in so much stuff. I don't know why I haven't invested in lighting, which is like the most important thing when it comes to podcasting. So I think that's what's next for me.
I haven't figured out this part yet. As far as using my camera video along with this mic, but whatever, I'll figure it out someday.
Hey man, just the thing that they always say, just start recording and then
let
the rest happen. Yeah.
I'm gonna do a little bit of a different mock thing, like kind of taking something from you and Peacock there, as far as not doing mock drafts, doing something different with it. So it should be fun. So I got a question for you. The reason I'm jumping on here is just kind of have a quick question. Like, so you hear the term "pop off the tape" all the time, right? You hear it from all people, like across the spectrum, different things. So the other day, I was listening to Brad Graham, and he was saying something really like, basically, he was explaining how like his first draft crush, the reason he kind of popped off the tapes, he had like this powder blue helmet, and every time he sees a play happen, he just sees this guy out in front of everybody else, reach blocking and stuff like that. And so my question is, what is something that pops off the tape for you as a corner when you're looking at corners or wide receivers? Is it that the corner is never giving up any space, or is it that he can recover? Is it like, what is it that makes a guy pop for you on both sides of the ball there?
I think it's confidence. Like you can just see, I can feel it, right? Like I can feel a guy that just has this certain level of confidence in his play and his ability, and like it's just certain swagger. That's the first thing not the first thing that jumps out, but when it pops, right? And that's like Eli Ricks. There's one game I turned on. Gosh, Texas
I like
A&M,
him a lot. I like him a lot.
State. It was one of those games, right? And I'm watching Eli Ricks, and I'm like, it just popped.
He's gonna start in the league.
Confidence,
he's gonna start in the league.
Like he was turned up. And I think it was like his first game back from whatever he was going through. So it was like his first start in however long for Alabama, whatever it was. But it was just like that pops. Now again, you watch guys play, you see them do good things. Just a certain level of aggressiveness. I think I'm always looking at that. But the thing that pops the most, especially when evaluating the corners, is that confidence, man. When they're playing. And you could just look at them and in their head, they're saying, this guy can't fuck with me. Like that pops.
Yeah. Okay. So when you have a guy that you think, okay, that looks pretty good, and then you go to maybe a second or a third one, like what is it that make you something that initially might have popped, and then you're like, nope, it's not there. So
I think so that kind of happened a little bit with Mekhi Blackmon, watching him today, the cornerback out of USC, where from the jump, I just see this aggressiveness at the top of the route. And the aggressiveness continued, but sometimes in the wrong way, but then sometimes in the right way. So it was weird. So I'm like, hey, I like it, but then but then there's an issue here, there's an issue here, and there's an issue here. But then it's an interception here. Oh, then it's a pass breakup here. And so it's like kind of trying to find this balance. But that was one thing that popped initially, and then it was like, and then it popped. And it was like, you know what I'm saying? So it was a little weird. I was kind of like having this internal fight with myself watching this film on how much do I like his aggressiveness? Do I tell him to turn it down just a little bit? But ultimately, I think I ended up liking it. And I'd rather, again, I said it earlier, I'd rather tell a guy, hey, let's scale back just a little bit, as opposed to telling the guy, hey, man, can you be more aggressive? So that was something that kind of popped while I was watching Mekhi Blackmon.
Yeah, I think like Dante Pettis is kind of like the example for you can't teach a guy to be more aggressive. If somebody either has that mindset to just go in there and get after it, or they don't. It's not really something that maybe it's teachable like at a younger age, but by the time they get to this level, that's not something that you're gonna teach them. So I wanted to ask. So in this draft,
real quick. So it is hard, but I'll give a quick story. And again, I like to use myself as a resource because I've been there, I've done that, and I kind of rode the wave of all kind of different emotions. My rookie year in the Arena Football League, and I saw somebody that started off in the chat. Where's it at? Right here. It says, always, like when you say play in the AFL, first time I heard that, I'm thinking, no way. But he's talking about American Football League. I definitely didn't play in that league. But the Arena Football League, baby, the Arena Football League. And my rookie year, so, I looked the part, right? Dreads hanging out the helmet, 6'2" corner, got the tattoos. It's like, oh, this guy's rough. And my teammates that I played with, like, big, rocked up, physical, like the DBs, and they're laying guys out. I mean, just and we got labeled the bad boys. We got labeled the bad boys because of just how we played, how we carried ourselves. Well, really, it was them. It wasn't me. But at some point, I'm like, I have to match their intensity. I have to match their physicality in the way that they play, and it just I got tired of. And nobody said it. I don't even know if the other teams knew it. I mean, coaches would say something to me before the game, like, "Hey man, take it easy on my guys today," right? Like, but I knew I was not like my teammates, and I just got tired of not being like them, and I said, "I'm finna just take dudes' heads off." And all of a sudden, I just boom, boom. I'm just flying around. I'm
Yeah.
smacking stuff, and then I just turned into a
Just not
physical
on
aggressive
special
guy. So
teams.
you can, but it might be something that you gotta want. Like you gotta really want it, and you gotta just really be like, "F it." Like I'm just gonna go all in. And I think a lot of guys just might not do that.
Yeah. So when you were looking at Brandon Ayuk in the draft process,
Yeah.
is that someone who stood off the page to you as someone who's an aggressive? Because it seems like he's gotten more aggressive and he's kind of grown in. So do you think that maybe something like that happened with him? You get in the locker room with a guy like George Kittle, a guy like Deebo Samuel, and it's like, if I don't come out here and just be nasty and put someone on the ground, it's not going to work.
Well, I think it's if you don't
Do you,
do it,
do you think him? Do you think he had that happen with him? Like, because I just
yeah.
feel like since his first year, he's gotten a lot more aggressive.
Well,
Obviously, culminating in literally throwing hands with Warner.
he probably always had it in him. Like he comes off as more of a quiet guy, and maybe initially didn't react the way that Kyle wanted him to, and be this raw guy. I don't think he's that, but you definitely have seen him kind of turn up and maybe start to feel more confident and comfortable with what he was doing.
Yeah.
Look at whatever level, right? It's really hard. Excuse me. It's really hard to like play with the ultimate confidence and just be yourself. That was the one thing I remember. The NFL is really fast, but not because all the players are just hella fast. Everybody's just a step ahead mentally because they know what they're supposed to do. But when you don't, you play slower than what you're able to play at. And so for a guy like Ayuk, there could have been a whole lot of thinking going on, and he couldn't really be himself right away. And then as he got more comfortable in the offense and he started to come into like who he is as a receiver in the NFL, then you start to see that dog come out, that confidence that, I'm that guy and things like that. Or maybe not care if he drops the ball because he drops some passes, but not care. Okay, that's not me. I'm going to come back and I'm going to make this play. I'll make this catch. So there could have been some of that. That wasn't something that I noted at Arizona State. So whether he was or wasn't, the most aggressive player, I didn't note that. That it wasn't something where I'm like, "Whoo, this guy's a dog. He loves the block." And maybe he did. Maybe I missed it and I wasn't paying attention to that. I think the one thing that stood out to me most about him was the separator that he was, and then how twitched up he was, how sudden he was, and I thought the run after catch was good. And there were a couple things that I thought he can improve on. And there's a couple of things right now in the NFL I'm waiting for him to improve on. But overall, clearly, I mean, he's a very, very talented receiver. But that dog that he has in him, that was not something that I noted with him coming out of Arizona. Maybe he had it, though. But
So if there's one guy in this draft in the defensive backfield, not wide receivers, in the defensive backfield, who's the one guy that you're like, we got to make sure we come away with this guy? Who's that guy for you?
I don't know yet because I haven't watched enough guys. But the closer we get, because I'm starting to get
a to use John Lynch, who's the leader in the clubhouse right now?
Right. Well, shoes. I mean, I just started watching corners. It's hard because you got to remember too. A lot of the guys, like I said before you came on here, I haven't watched a lot of the top guys. So I bet if I start to cut on their film, then I would have a different response. But right now, I'm watching more guys that could potentially be drafted by the 49ers.
And that's what I mean. Like, obviously, we're not going to get one of the top 6 or 8 corners that are drafted. Those guys are going to be gone in the first 50 picks. So, like, who are some of the guys, say 10 through 15, and you're like, this guy, man, if he just does this little thing a little bit better, the Niners really got, like, the guy, Riggs, the guy I really, really like. I feel like if he could literally kick Diamo back inside, and we could really have something with our corners.
So Riggs, I really like him. He would probably be the leader but I understand value, and I'm not taking a corner that tested as poorly as he did in the first 4 rounds. Like, I'm just not. So if he's there in the 5th, and even then I might, there might be a tackle I like, there might be a guard I like, there might be, and then eventually I get to him, cool. And then I would like that. Like, I would like that just to see, like, you know what, this is a guy who's a 5-star. This is a guy who played at a high level at LSU. When he was on the field at Alabama, he played at a high level. So,
It
okay,
it,
I
it
give him in the
seems
fifth round. I'm happy with that, but I'm not taking him before the fifth round.
it seems to me like he's one of those guys where like I get the testing. I feel like his tape when and I don't have like 22 film. I do have to watch like whether it's highlights or whatever. But kind of how I look at it when I watch highlights is like this is the very best. If I'm not blown away by your highlights, like your highlights can't be. I was watching the guy. Oh man, was it a quarterback? I think it was a quarterback. Oh, and this is gonna get me crushed, I'm sure, in the comments. DTR. And I was watching him. I'm watching his highlights, and I'm like, if this is your highlight reel, and this is the best plays that you have, and I watch like when he gets out and runs. I don't think he's. I think it's a little bit of the same thing like with Trey Lance, where I don't think he's going to be as athletic in the NFL as he looks in college. I don't.
I think he's
The
more.
way he runs and stuff. Go ahead.
I think he's more dynamic and elusive
Than Trey Lance for sure, but I don't think he's going to be anywhere near as dynamic as a runner. He's going to be more like Deshaun Watson has some escapability, but he was a dynamic runner in college. He's not that kind of runner in the NFL. Not like he was in college. So, but I'm not as high on DTR as everybody else is.
So with DTR, so he has some accuracy issues that come and go.
And his throwing motion is just.
I've watched a lot more of him as of late. The things I do like, I mean, I watched him live, right? Like when I say live, I watched a lot of his games live because I just watched him. I watched Zach Charbonnet, and there is something about him where he
like
just has
Charbonnet,
a certain grit about him.
Oh, for sure.
His ability to just make plays, his ability to make throws, his ability to make plays with his legs. I thought early on he relied on his legs too much. I thought this past season it didn't feel like he relied on them too much, and he just used them.
Oh, absolutely.
He's a guy that played a ton of games, has a lot of experience, and he's another one of those guys where if we're talking fifth round, but there's a reason why we're talking fifth round.
Yeah. I actually I don't like him even in the fifth round because when I'm watching, like I said, all I have is tape that's online and stuff. So I'm just watching clips of him, and most of his throws. You see guys having to either stop and catch it. You see him catching it on a back hit. You see like the one highlight that he has. It's a guy reaching out and catching it with one hit. He does not hit guys in stride. And there's open guys running across the middle and stuff. Maybe 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 throws are actually hitting a guy in stride so he can catch and run. And that to me is a huge red flag when a quarterback can't hit an open guy in stride. I don't even really care where it is on the field or anything like that. Like we were talking the other day, you have to do the simple things every time.
Right.
And the simple thing is, can you hit an open guy running across the field in stride? And I just, like I said, I haven't watched 22 film. Maybe I'll just have to go back and watch some actual games, take the time. But everything I've seen so far, I have not seen a single set of clips where he hits 3 or 4 guys consecutively in stride at all. Well, that's a huge red flag for me. Yeah,
that's a great observation for a guy, and I talked about it earlier with what Peacock and I are doing, right? Because the way we're doing our mocks, or not mocks, but talking about prospects, is guys that are nationally getting mocked to the 49ers.
Yeah. So, I love it, by the way. Terrific idea.
Yeah, I did bring up DTR just because I watched a lot of UCLA.
Yeah.
And I just like just the experience, the athletic ability, the big arm, like the intangible.
Yeah.
But again, like some of the things you said, that it could be an issue. Very talented. I felt like a lot of it too. And again, this is not an excuse. I guess it kind of is, but I think there was a little bit of hero ball going on. It's not a guy that
for sure
at Alabama,
for sure.
Some of the other things, but
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's weird to say that about UCLA too, because they've had some real guys come out of there, and it's weird to say that you're almost talking about like you played at D2.
Yeah.
It's just Charbonnet is a beast, but yeah, there's not a whole lot more going on around him. So with
hold on real quick. You asked about some corners. Here's one that I
okay.
All right, so
Kelton
Chronicles in the chat. He says, "How do you feel about Hodges Tomlinson?" And he's talking about the TCU corner. He would probably be the first corner I take if I'm the Niners, right? Like if third round and he's there, over
Mm-hmm.
all the guys that I've just talked about, I would take him over all the guys. Again, talk about the
Yeah.
aggressiveness, scrappiness. You talk about stringing plays together, stringing throws together for DTR. I was watching TCU film, and it was 4 straight plays of just Tomlinson just good.
Locking.
And
Yep.
then they tried to throw a screen to his side. He blew up the lead blocker, got in and made the tackle. The reason why he's going to slide likely is because he's just not tall. He's listed.
Yeah.
On paper, you could put him at 5'8", but he's like 5'7".
Wow. He's that short?
He's like 5'7".
I knew he was a smaller guy. I didn't know he was that small.
Yeah, he's like 5'7" and 7/8 or something like that. He's not like a legit 5'8". He's close, obviously.
Yeah.
But, and 49ers, I mean, the real fans, y'all remember the Darnell Walkers of the world and Nate McMillan, some of those really short guys that the 49ers had back in the day. But he's not big. He's just not. But he played outside extremely well. He was aggressive. I watched him against bigger guys. It didn't seem to be an issue. He's cat quick. He's physical. He's aggressive, and he probably profiles as a legit nickel in the NFL. But I think he's this guy that has.
Oh yeah, nickel.
And it's like if you like Asante Samuel, then it's like you should like Tomlinson, who might be an inch shorter, and that's not great. But
I'm one of the crazy people. I was very wrong about Asante Samuel. Okay. Very wrong.
I liked Asante Samuel.
Yeah.
I had him top 5 in that class with. I had J.C. Horn, Greg Newsome,
loved Horn,
Patrick Surtain,
the
kid from Virginia Tech, Farley, and then Asante Samuel.
Yeah. God, this can be so bad. I'm a Florida State fan. Asante Samuel played at Florida State, right? Am I confusing him with someone else, or is that his dad that played at Florida State?
He played at Florida State. Maybe
Junior did. Okay. So I just want to make sure I wasn't accidentally getting them mixed up. Oh God, I'm a terrible FSU fan. But yeah, when I watched him at FSU, I just didn't see so one of the things that I look for with corners is competing for the ball at the catch point. So that's something for me that pops on tape is when I see a corner or safety consistently competing for the ball at the catch point. Number one, it means you're in position to compete for the ball at the catch point. You're doing something right if you're there when the ball gets there. I don't know technically the way you do, so I can't rely on, hey, how good is his footwork, his hips and stuff. I do look at some technical aspects, like how well can they turn and run. I think that's a really big deal, your ability to change direction and move and turn.
Especially now when a lot of teams are going to quarters and you got to be able to turn. We saw that be an issue a little bit with Travarius Ward.
Yeah. Yeah, so a buddy of mine's a big-time Kansas City fan, and he has to turn his phone off because he doesn't have a heart attack when the game is on. And one of the things he told me about Travarius Ward is very streaky. He said there's times when he plays, it looks like he's the best corner in football, and then he'll just disappear for 2 or 3 games, and he's just average. Why is that?
Because of what they asked of him. A lot of times, City, they had him playing man on team's best receiver and following him all over. So when you're just tasked with that tough assignment and you're not just like this shutdown guy. But I watched him he competed very well, but he was streaky because I'm not an elite corner, but he did play very well. And a lot of his numbers were actually good, in comparison to the rest of the league. Like some of the the deep diving numbers were really good on him. But they asked a lot of them, and it's like, hey, there's Jamar Chase. You go guard Jamar Chase for this whole game.
Yeah, good luck.
That's why it was he just had tough task, and so I think if you watch him get hit up like maybe a couple plays in a row or get hit up on the play, and then maybe later in the game he gets hit up, is because of it's not like he gets the opportunity to just go, well, I'm gonna go from, I'm just gonna guard. I don't know, Richie James all game. It's like, nah, you're going to guard DK Metcalf all game.
Okay, yeah. No. Actually, he did the first time around.
Well, I know, that's really what I'm saying. But that's – so the 49ers started asking more of him too. But I'm just saying, that's tough, right? And we talk about, the first 2 games, he balled. Now, the last game, DK – but it's like, DK is good too. So at some point, he's going to get
exactly. Yeah, I'm a big fan of DK. I think he's Terrell Owens 2.0. Actually, he's the same thing. I just hope he doesn't go total, because people forget that T.O. was not a diva when he started. for 3-4 years he was with the team. He was not that. He didn't become that until he was starting to compete with Jerry Rice for targets, and his head got a little bigger. But it was like year 3, year 4 before he really started to turn into
I think
To.
this, and so I'm a big T.O. fan. I think T.O.'s thing was, and just listening to him talk, T.O. was honest to a fault.
Yep,
And that was his
I
biggest issue.
agree. Yep,
So
yeah, for sure.
whatever was on Terrell Owens' mind, he did not know how to tell you or to give you like a politically correct answer. It was
Yeah,
just good, and now that's not good, right? But
yeah,
I guess it's good because you know exactly where you stand with him.
yeah,
But if he feels like I'm better than Jerry Rice right now, then he will just tell you I'm better than
yep,
Jerry Rice right now. Or if he
yeah.
feels
Oh, for
like,
sure.
hey, you give me the ball, like we'll win this game, and you're not giving the ball, like it's gonna be an issue. Because when you
Oh
do give him the
yeah.
ball, then he makes plays happen, and then it's like
Oh
of
yeah.
course, like this is what I do. I remember watching him in the, I think it was 2001 against the Falcons, maybe it was 2001, and he just hit them up for like 3 touchdowns and caught the game-winning touchdown in overtime. It was
Yeah.
one of those years, and it was like,
Yep.
who can make a play? I can, and it's
I
like
can't.
it's not even so much like a diva thing, but it's like, bro, I'm him. So just get
Yep.
me the ball, and we don't got nothing to worry about. But then
Yep.
when you are, Tony Romo, and you're throwing the Witten more than me, and I'm just coming off a year where I had 16 touchdowns, broke the Cowboys record. Like, bro, I'm gonna have an issue with that because look, like I'm trying to win. You're over here playing
Yeah.
buddy buddy with your friend and throwing him the ball. Throw me the ball, but you
Yeah.
can't say that, right? You can't say that.
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
saying he says those things, and I feel him, but it comes off as, oh, this guy's a diva. Same with like Des Bryant. You see Des Bryant, how passionate he is on the sideline, all those things, and then it comes off as if, oh, it's a me, 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 and
Yep.
it's like, well, it's only me because when you get me the ball, look what I do with it.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham, same thing, right? Like you see these guys, Odell in his prime, where it's just like you see him like cry on the sideline, then he hit the net hit him in the head. Remember that? But like he's so he's so like it's kind of like it's frustrating because like just throw me the
Yeah.
ball, and we're good. And I think a lot of people look at that as like diva. Like I would say when we come talk about divas, and as good as he was, but like who is truly a diva, out of all the people that people think is divas, what name do you think I'm about to say?
Well, who are you about to say?
Yeah.
You're probably about to go
Out of all the guys, like when we
Diva.
talk about these guys, right? We talk about these
Yeah.
receivers just now, and they're all
I
talented.
mean,
This guy's talented
you're
too.
probably gonna Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown, 100%.
Okay.
Out of
Yeah.
all the guys, AB was probably the most like
Oh yeah. Of that
legit
era.
diva. Because
Yeah.
even then, like just watch him in an interview right now. Like that's him,
Yeah.
But watch T.O. in the interview, watch Odell in the interview, and they're cool. They're
Yeah.
cool dudes. They just had a lot of confidence. But you watch AB, and it's just like, what is up with this guy? Right? Like, yeah, he's the diva.
He was never right after that hit from Perfect. He was just never right again. Like they need to go in there and scan something there because after that hit he took from Perfect, he was on pace to beat. He's the closest thing to Jerry Rice that we've seen. AB.
Yeah.
People forget that for 6 years he's the closest thing to Jerry Rice the league's ever had.
Yeah.
Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, and guys like that, totally different types of wide receivers. And I understand that like even T.O. and Randy Moss and stuff. You can't compare those guys to Jerry Rice. First of all, statistically, it's not a conversation. But they have to have 5 more years of, I think, 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns, each of them, to catch him. Like, stop. But as far as the actual ability, Calvin Johnson, if you built a robot receiver in a lab, you would build Calvin Johnson.
Right.
But there's a difference between being the most talented and being the greatest. They're 2 very different conversations.
And Rice is the greatest. But Chunda Boy, man, I'm gonna get you
out. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you out because we're about to
thanks, bud.
close out here, man. But of course,
all right, man. It's a great conversation.
Man. Oh yeah. I wanted to come on, man. We're just gonna chill. We're gonna talk about these prospects.
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of circle back around with those, and then just open conversation for everybody. So I appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Of course, man.
All right, Chunda Boy. Shout out to my guy. Chunda Boy always does a great job. Clapping up for Sean the boy, and what he did for the show today. I hope everybody's enjoying this show, man. We're just chilling. We talked about a few prospects. I will go over those guys one more time. All right, we got Rejzohn Wright. I talked about him and how I felt about Rejzohn Wright. Really long corner. I question the long speed. I do question the long speed. I think he has good feet. When you are a guy that just you're that long with your legs and things like that, uh, the change of direction sometimes seems to be a little tough. I thought when he played with anticipation, the change of direction was good, but when he didn't and he had to just naturally react, I thought that was something where he could improve, and it's going to be hard because he's just so tall, and sometimes that's just hard. I think that he is more of a fifth round pick. That's what it feels like. And then you get him, and it's just like, all right, let's go. Let's see. Let's see. Didn't run 40. And I think I know why. Watching him on film and how he kind of got in chase mode, I would assume somebody told him not to. Now, maybe he was hurt, and then that's why he didn't run it. That could be the case. But he elected not to run it. There's no 40-yard dash time on him. The other guy I talked about was Mekhi Blackmon, cornerback out of USC. I thought Mekhi Blackmon, probably after I talked about it, especially with Eli Ricks, who was the third guy that we talked about tonight. Eli Ricks, just terrible testing. I think his film popped the most, but because of the bad testing, and again, I mean, we're talking about 4.640. I mean, just the was it the 3-cone? Oh, god awful, right? Like, I mean, so the athletic numbers aren't there. How does it translate to the rest of the league? The film, I'm confident as hell, but it's like, man, Croc, you gotta kind of take that into effect. So that was another guy that I like. But man, so again, we talked about three guys: Rejzohn Wright, Mekhi Blackmon, Eli Ricks. If I had to rank those guys off of just what I watched, or just the film, I would probably go Eli Ricks, Mekhi Blackmon, Rejzohn Wright, and then once I take the testing into consideration, I go Blackmon, Ricks, Wright, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're drafted kind of in that order. All right, but that is going to do it for this episode of the Eric Crocker Show. Appreciate y'all joining me on this Friday evening. Just to talk a little bit of 49er football, talk about some prospects, man. It's always fun. Make sure you guys, wherever you listen to your streaming platforms, you guys can get this full copy here of this: Apple, Spotify, etc. It's everywhere you are. Underdog Fantasy promo code Crocky, getting the action of the games this weekend. I'm gonna be at the Laker game Sunday. Go Lakers! And the Warriors, I ain't messing with them. But appreciate everybody for tuning in, and I'm out. See y'all Monday, Tuesday, whenever. Peace.